All right, here we are. I'm excited to see if I can get this thing to pop up on Instagram so everybody's got it there too. I don't know why it's not giving me the opportunity to go live yet, but here it is. Now we're live everywhere. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited for this conversation. How does religion play a part in being a man? And for me, it doesn't make me a man if I'm in religion or not. You better be a man with or without your religion. And yet it can enhance that space and it can also hinder that space. So I'm interested to see how the fellas want to talk about this and how it shows up in their life and just excited to move this conversation forward. It's all a conversation around how can we continue to elevate together. So we'll see you soon. Peace.
When I am asked to speak, I embrace the calling. It is my responsibility to make sure to leave everyone inspired to elevate in all aspects of life. In the 26 states and 10 countries, it has been my energy that is infectious and magical. The impact elevates everyone to new heights. It's time to conquer our challenges. Relationships across the board, communication gaps, fear of the unknown, limited beliefs and all that holds us hostage in life. The path to power is peace, and peace is the power to live by. The unique perspective that I bring to the table inspires all, professionals, executives, students, coaches, and athletes to reach their highest potential. That is why I, Sid McNary, am known as the secret weapon. Whether it is tackling mental health issues, success in business, or winning at life, every moment counts. Get ready to receive the tools to win. It's time to win at everything. Let's connect today. Peace.
Hello, my name is Miles. Discover a powerful journey of resilience, purpose, and spiritual growth in the Autobiography of a Human by Sid McNary. In this compelling autobiography, McNary shares the personal challenges and triumphs that shaped his path to success while offering insight for professionals seeking deeper meaning and balance in their own lives. Drawing from his experiences growing up Catholic, participating in indigenous vision quests, and studying the Buddhist path, he reveals how diverse spiritual traditions ultimately guide us toward the same destination: connection with the Creator and our highest selves. Through practices such as meditation, yoga, and spirit medicine, McNary demonstrates how life's victories and hardships can become opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and lasting peace. The Autobiography of a Human is more than a memoir. It is an inspiring reflection for professionals striving to align purpose, personal development, and inner clarity. Available now on Amazon, this transformative story invites readers to reflect, grow, and step confidently onto their own path of self-discovery and peace.
All right, we're here. I'm going to pop everybody up. Welcome, 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 and welcome, Coach Corn. What's going on here? Oh, somehow we lost Coach Corn. That was my extra. Why is this an echo? Yeah, he was here and then he slipped out. So we'll see if it comes
jump back in, I'm sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, it's great. It's great to be here with everybody and you know, something that's been big, and I want to just kind of get clear on the fact that one, I got rebaptized a couple Sundays ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've been to church, and I'd still say no, religion's not going to make you a man. Like, I've been to church the last, I don't know, 3-4 months, whatever it is. And which is interesting because even as I talk to the lead pastor, and he's like, yeah, you know, after the baptism is going to make you a different leader at home. And I just kind of smile and I'm like, no, it ain't. it's not going to do that. And then he goes, actually, it's not. I already see you're a leader. I already can feel it. I know it just in the response, of no response. And it's interesting to me because as I look at it, it actually can do quite the opposite. It could turn you very passive, take you away from truly living into God, and becoming one with God. So, yeah, I'm just curious how it lands for you all. Yeah, anyone, go for it.
I mean, I guess I can grab the stick first, unless anybody else wants to jump in. I think that you're right. I think it could improve, it could help you, and it could hurt you, because that whole thing of God will provide. I go back to the term that God helps those who help themselves, and we've got to be an active participant in our own salvation, so to speak. Yet sometimes when people lean too much into the religion, they think that all they got to do is pray and everything comes to them, right? Just like law of attraction, you say you will put it out in the universe, but if you don't get up from the couch, you'll never hit the lottery, because the lottery ticket isn't going to blow in by the wind through the window and land on your lap. Not saying that you're praying for the lottery or anything else, but I'm saying is you've got to take action towards whatever it is that you want, because whatever you want from God, God wants for you, but you've got to step up. It's like that poem, and I didn't prepare for this, but it's like that poem that says, God, I asked God for strength, and he gave me opportunities to be strong. I asked God for courage. He gave me opportunities to be courageous, right? I asked God for strength, and he gave me opportunities to be strong. All of those things. Right. So it's not just what you ask for, is you've got to lean into it, and you've got to live, you got to walk your walk, and you've got to be an active participant in that. So to your point, yeah, it could help you and help you be a better man. It could also make you more passive, and it could also make you a little indignant, perhaps. It all depends on who who you are as a person, and who the leader that's guiding you is as well, because we all know that there's plenty of charlatans out there that claim to be pastors and priests in every religion. Right. There's radicals and nuts in every religion. But I think that for me, I was brought up Catholic. I'm probably more Christian than I am Catholic, but I'm certainly more spiritual than I am anything else. I think that if you live by the golden rule and you believe in a higher power, whoever you choose that to be and what you choose to call him, I think that there's only one God. What everybody chooses to call him by name is their own choice, and however they choose to worship. So that's how I kind of consolidate religion. But I think that it plays a pivotal part in who you are, knowing that there is something beyond you. There's something, an intelligence stronger, and that we didn't just happen by accident, that there is something after this life. And I think that it's important to live your life the way that you want to be remembered, to be an example and not a warning, and do the best you can. Right? Leave this world and everyone you meet, hopefully a little bit better than you found it.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
I like that, Tony. I like that. And I would piggyback in regards to what you're saying. There's a difference between religion and relationship. Many of us grown up, with religion, but never really developed a true relationship with God or with purpose, our discipline and self-awareness. And as stated, and you stated, it can go both ways. And I have tend to find, based off my experience, I grew up Baptist, Pentecost, learned about Muslim, Islam, Protestant. And when I got of age, I started doing my own research. And one thing I realized, we often inherit these traditions and not really understanding why we believe these traditions. So when I started doing my research, it gave me a whole new outlook on religion. And we have to embrace it and really look at the historical content of it. Religion is man-made. Now, it does have some, in my opinion, it does have some things in it that plays a factor in regards to relationship with God. But the confusing thing that has been for me is, if one of the original books, which is the Ethiopian Bible, that has more than 88 books, why do we have this watered down version of the Holy Bible that has only 46 books? So books that's missing or omitted for whatever reason can change up the whole narrative. And I use it as an analogy. Just imagine everyone, I think, has played the game Monopoly. If you was only given those rules of Monopoly, not knowing there's other rules, it changes up the whole game. So it goes back to religion. Are we using religion for ourselves, or are we actually having a talk and getting more of a relationship with God? And I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Okay, I'll jump in. I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin on this. Once in a while, I do that. So I just want to say that for me, religion is not just beliefs and rituals. It is a meaning system that tells us who we are, what matters, and how we should live. So for men, religion often becomes one of the core scripts and teaches us what it means to be a man. You know, what strength looks like, how we relate to women, how do we handle power, and how do we deal with failure. So I want to take a little different spin on the question and say, the real question really, what kind of man does your faith invite you to be?
So I'm going to jump in real quick. Say that question again?
The question I have is, what kind of man does your faith invite you to be?
Well, my faith has very little to do with religion, because at 3 years old, when I died and went back to the voice and the light, my religion ain't tell me anything about that. Like nothing. I grew up Catholic. It didn't tell me anything about that, let alone, if anything, they kept trying to disconnect me from that. Because I would go to church, and it took me till recently to realize, oh, when I drift into that space between sleep and awake, it's because I go back. My religion ain't tell me anything about that. And it happened in those moments because I felt safe. I was at peace. My religion ain't teach me anything about the real makeup of Sid. And yes, I got baptized again for the 4th time. I've gotten baptized. Well, my grandma, first I got baptized in 1970, born, sprinkled on my head. Then I got baptized again with my grandmom, maybe after my first Vision Quest. Yep. And then again, when she gave me my native name, He Brings Peace. And then again, recently. And the only one that not that I didn't, like, my grandma wouldn't have been like, Sid, you have to get baptized. But I allowed her to do that. The one that I said, okay, this is mine, I'm doing it, was most recent. I think a man makes his own choices. If your religion was forced upon you because you were born into it, I'm not sure that's helping to be a man. And it's, you go read a Bible, you go read different things, it'll tell you what a man looks like, but says who? The people that enslaved people? Says who? What man said that? And even because I've been studying, like, now I'm somebody that is on a deep dive, and I still question it along the way, because I'm not just going to blindly follow anybody or anything. So I did 52 days of Jesus, studying Jesus for 52 days. It's going to take me 3 years, 3.26 years to finish the Bible, because I will only do a chapter a day so that I can really go look at it. So I'm in 3 different Bibles, one being the Ethiopian Bible, and making sure that, okay, and I'm seeing the differences. Why are there differences? Like, if you only study one, you got one person's forced upon you view of what may or may not be, because why are there differences? Like, to me, a man has the ability to sit back and research and ingest without reaction, and then steps into what's next. And then also I'd say a man really at this level of the man that I am is okay not knowing. I know I don't know. So I'm doing the research. I'm not trying to force any of my dogma onto others. Yeah, that's what comes up. Go ahead.
So if I can just add to that, I think, and this will kind of tie in what you said and a little bit of what Dr. Vibe said, is that religion is man-made. The books are all written by man, although they may have been inspired and guided by the divine, by the apostles, and pieces of it were written by this. But then they were also translated into translation in many different ways to accommodate the different religions that exist out there. There continues to be rewritten. That's why, heck, there's really Catholicism started, it was belief in God, belief in Jesus. And then as the fragmentation goes, by the way, based on power, politics, and money, because, there's only, and I'll just kind of jump in with this and say that there's only one reason that Catholic priests don't get married is because probably in the, 400 or 500 years ago, 600 years ago, whatever it was, the priest had just as much power, however long ago, it wasn't from inception, however long ago it was,
Right.
4, 5, 6, 7, doesn't matter. From inception, they were getting married, yet when they would have kids, because they were so powerful, if somebody didn't have kids, or even if they did, and they've done a lot of bad shit, or they were dying, whatever, they'd go to the priest and say, listen, express pathway to heaven, please. I know you have a cell number, quote unquote, right? You've got the express pathway. I will leave you everything. Please give me an express path to heaven, or forgive me of my sins, or whatever it is. And they would leave the priest all of their wealth, cash, properties, all of it, land, everything. And then when the priest died, those things went to the children. Well, guess what? The Catholic Church says, wait, hold on. That's not going to happen. You're no longer allowed to be married. You're married to the Catholic Church. You can use all of those things while you're alive, but once you die, it all reverts back to the church. That's why the Catholic Church is still one of the wealthiest entities in the world. So we have to remember that. So starting there. And then, as the bishops and priests and whatever, they got into fights, they'd break off into their own sect. Who doesn't believe in angels? Who doesn't believe in the Virgin Mary? Who's all about this or that? So the fragmentation of it started, and then it was accelerated by the tax-free, by the tax exempt of religion. So now you have, the four of us can come together and call it the men's group religion, church of whatever, and all of a sudden we've got a church and we're now all taxed. So there's a lot of fraud that goes behind that. So understanding that the religion is written specifically to control populations. In a lot of those books, by the way, to your point, Coach Hightower, 88 books distilled down to 47 or 48, whatever it is because some are just perhaps inconvenient truths. Some don't work for today's methods of controlling population, because remember that wars have been fought and lost, countries have fallen, countries have come up based on the on religion and the control of the people. So that's why I think spiritually, it's more about spirituality than anything else. And to your point, Sid, my 18th birthday, I had a ND. I died in a car accident, and I had that experience as well of the black light, white, the energy and everything else. It was more energetic. It was more the energy, the peace of it all, and like almost kind of a deeper understanding. And at some points you can, and many of us can touch a little bit of that divinity, and we can tap into that on that moment, like you said, between sleep and being awake, in that little bit of a dream state, you can tap into some of that clarity. So I am much more spiritual than I am religious because of that, because of my experiences, because, growing up and praying and going to church and praying, guess what? Nothing changed. I was still living, a lot of the hardship that I had to live despite all of those things. So there's, again, I'm not a fan of organized religion. Doesn't matter which one it is. Organized religion, the system itself, it's all politics, money, and power.
It is, and it's actually a form of control. And I think we all can agree upon as men that religion is made into control. I heard something came up in regards to slavery, and I'm not for sure if you all recall, but there were many movies that talks about that. And one of the latest ones that stood out for me was in 2016. They came out with The Birth of a Nation, and The Birth of a Nation, it was directed and starred by Nate Parker, but Nat Turner was actually built around the enslaved pastor who led the 1831 slave rebellion. However, he was forced to preach what the slave master wanted him to preach. And actually going to Africa, tracing my lineage and going there and seeing how they had the church on the island where they was actually kidnapping the slaves, making them go to church. And it goes back to programming. They was programming religion upon them. So it's a form of, definitely a form of control. And it's all around the world, all around the world. So for me, and I'm speaking for me as Coach Hightower, my importance is having that connection with God, still understanding religion, but not letting religion dictate to how I move.
Well, I got a question. I got a question for all of us here. That where has religion helped you become a better son, partner, father, or friend, and where has it given you cover to avoid accountability?
Well, it hasn't for me. There has never been a cover,
Okay.
Because I already knew that there was something bigger than the words in the book. Like, and then we rewrote the 10 Commandments when I was in college. So to knowing that they were teaching something that we didn't even want taught. Like, we knew thou shalt not kill. You just taught a baby to kill and it didn't even know about killing. So why didn't it, if the Almighty is writing this on a tablet, why wouldn't the Almighty say, help everybody live well? Because something was already creating the opposite of that. So I already knew, I'm not playing with that. Like, yet I don't own a gun. And I've lived in state after state after state where guns are legal. Never owned a gun because I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to help people live well. That's my own choice. Ain't got nothing to do with the books that have been put in front of me. And yet I will say, like I said, 2 weeks ago, got rebaptized. The commitment in my heart, especially after he said, Sid, you baptize your wife. After I did that, it elevated everything about our relationship. It was just like, even though we have an absolute dream relationship, I dreamt of this relationship I have with Liz. And 2 weeks ago when I did that, it was like, nah, it's a whole nother level. So I think it can do that, but it wasn't about the act. You can watch the video and you can go watch a bunch of other people's videos and because it was 2,552 of us that got baptized that day in the ocean. So 14,000 people showed up. It was a big deal. So there were people there that came out with, raw, yeah. And I watched it and I was like, damn, did I do that? Because I don't remember doing that. So I went back and watched my video and I'm like, oh, hold up. I just came out like, yeah, I felt it. It was real. So then when I baptized Liz and she came out, it was just, I embrace you like bone of my bone, like real in Genesis. If you don't know that, go look it up. But bone of my bone, like this became a whole different level, but that's on me. It doesn't matter what everybody else does. Like I love Joey, 1122, fastest growing church in America. It is freaking amazing. He was a football coach. He's got tattoos like me. He rides a freaking Harley. He surfs and he has the fourth. He's the third. We are walking parallel lives. So we are just getting closer. I'm getting closer and so is he, or we wouldn't have seen each other's reflection like that. And if he didn't really notice who I was, it's not his. I'll keep going because we are reflecting off of everybody all the time. So all the things that I've learned outside of my religion have allowed me to come full circle to dive deeper into my religion. But I had to go on that journey, and not everybody's journey is going to look the same.
Yeah, I love that, Sid. And you don't have to shout and scream. Everybody has their own experience. I found that people that react that way, it's more for the attention than it is for anything else. That's just one. And then just a tiny little bit of humor. You know, you said that God would have put that on the commandments when he carved it in stone. Monty Python had a skit where, you know, Moses is walking off the hill with 3 tablets. He dropped one and broke it. So maybe there's other stuff. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of humor there. But going back to what we were talking about, I agree with Sid. There is no cover. You know, I'm not going to use religion as an excuse for having done something. If anything, maybe not done something, right? I haven't done something wrong because I believe that that's a wrong thing. So if that would be a cover, so to speak, but that's not a cover. That's just the way it is. I don't think I've ever done anything wrong and hid behind the Bible or the religion to have done what I did, and again, there are some religions that do that, right? That they do bad shit in the name of whatever. And that's not to say that the Catholics and the Christians haven't done that in the past as well, but that's the ignorance of the person, not of the book, so to speak. Again, some religions are more peaceful than others. We're not going to get into that unless you guys want to. But I think that my spirituality, probably more than my religion, but perhaps my religion, because I grew up that way. So it was kind of, you know, I was born into it and I was bred into it and I was beaten into it at times or whatever it is. So it's obviously guided my life in a large way. But I think that it has made me a better father. It has made me a better man, better husband for being God-fearing, so to speak, to know that at some point, you know, there is accountability to our actions, right? And I think that there's a certain responsibility to not just be a good man, but to be a good leader, to be a good husband, to be a good father, to be a good example. So again, so that you're an example and not a warning, because there's an old saying that was old saying, probably from the 80s, like, what kind of world are we leaving our children? Well, I love the new adaptation that I probably heard 10 or 15 years ago and I started sharing it, is what kind of children are we leaving our world? I think the number one thing that we as men are here to do is to create better people and to create strong men that are God-fearing, that are respectful, and that have honor among them, right? And I think that that's a really important part of us. And it's for us to defend the women, children, and those who can't defend themselves, the elderly. That's where I think that we need to step up, stand in as men in our faith to do that. I think that is a big part of our calling.
Yeah, I love that, Tony. But I just also wrote something in the chat, and someone wrote about Hebrew being the first. There were other languages. There were people writing, like the first documented Bible is Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek. They were learning, and the Greeks came and learned from the Egyptians, and the Hebrews, same. So I've been looking I got a buddy that's been studying the Torah for 30, now I think it's 35 years in a cave from 6 a.m. to 12 in Jerusalem. I talk to him all the time. Heard the missiles flying overhead during the Gaza stuff, and pop. And he's like, nah, like people say, aren't you worried? Don't you want to come back to Boston? He's like, no, I can be sitting in Boston and drinking my coffee, and Boston ain't any safer. But he knew the missiles, everything. We talk all the time. He's one of the guys that we sent when we should have been studying, rewriting the 10 Commandments. And so we talk, and what's interesting, because I called him one day and was like, Chuck, man, hey, is that Torah? Is that the original? He's like, no. He said the closest I've gotten, because we started going down the rabbit hole, the closest he's gotten is the Ethiopian Bible. He said the Ethiopians have the original. And he's been studying it in the cave for 35 years. Most people aren't that dedicated to this thing they call their playbook. Here's one. I got this playbook, and I got the Bible. Quantum Sutras of Quantum Living. I got that one. It's my playbook. You aren't going to move me out of it. And I've gotten to a point where I want to know the Bible so well, you won't move me, because I put God first. I don't care what a man says. I don't care what the religion they talk about. If they aren't modeling what I want to become, then I ain't interested. Like that's man to me. Like I will say 1122, you can look it up. This cat, he looks older than I am. He doesn't even know. I got him by a few years. But he's living it. And he's like, if I stand up here and deliver this for you on Judgment Day, I will be judged harder than you because of the words he's pouring out to people. He has to live it. And that's what's ignited me, like on another level, to be different from my wife, to be different from my neighbors, to be different, period, always in me, is because I know as I choose to put God first, I'm judging myself harder. That's where this whole thing kind of hits for me. Like, yeah, I'm gonna pause there.
I like that said, because when you know, you know. And at the end of the day, man, religion should not divide us, especially if you're becoming a better man. No matter if you're Protestant, Baptist, Catholic, Muslim, whatever your denomination is. The real question should be, are you becoming more disciplined? Are you becoming more connected with God? Are you becoming more loving, more responsible, more accountable? That's the real thing. Because real faith, it's going to guide you to your transformation. But it's also very important to understand the historical content, even when we're talking about the translation of the language. English is one of the most challenging language on the earth. But when you take, well, actually, let's go back to the Hebrew and Greek is one of the most challenging languages on earth when you're trying to transcribe it. And just changing one word can change that whole verse, can change that whole chapter. So it's very important that we go back to the historical content. Even talking about baptism, our religion don't recognize the baptism. They see it as more of as a Christian thing. And even with that being said, a lot of the religions fall underneath the Catholic religion, some knowingly, some don't know it. But when you go back and even study Judaism, they had the similar thing in regards to baptism. They didn't call it baptism, but it still was a form of submerging in water. So this historical content is very important, because living here in the Western world, and I had the privilege, thank God, of traveling more than 15 different countries. America's kind of like the copycat. They can take things, reinvent it, and resell it to you, and don't understand the actual true intent of it. Even the foods here, we have pretty much adopted all the food from across the world and kind of made it ours. I remember my first experience in going to actually France last year with my wife. Never cared for tiramisu until I went there and had tiramisu there. Completely different. Even with some of the religion and some of the fraternities and sororities, and even some of the secret societies that we practice here. Are we really practicing it the right way? Or are we just copycatting? And you can look at it with our television channels. I think one of our biggest shows is America's Got Talent. That was actually created over in Britain and resold. So a lot of things here in the Western world is duplicated. You also, it's very important that we understand the historical content, because once again, religion is another form of control. And here in America, man, we're good at propaganda and marketing.
By the way, tiramisu is Italian, not French, just for the record. So they copied it from the Italians. For the record, and I'm not Italian. I'm just saying. And to your point, you're right. Religion shouldn't divide us, except the hierarchy of the religion, of many religions, do want to separate us by that. The top of the Jewish religion, it's very much about either you're Jewish, we're the chosen people, or you're whatever. So, and I'm not talking about your Jewish neighbor, your Jewish friend. I'm talking about the hierarchy of it. And those who are really radicals, by the way, a radical of any religion is a freaking whack job in my book. Doesn't matter which religion you're at. Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever it is. I think the radical of any radical on one extreme or another is a nut job. So I think that like I said, in the Jewish religion, you're either the chosen one or you're not. And everybody else is the goyim or whatever the heck they call them. In the Muslim religion, we're not even going to get into that. They do preach violence in a lot of ways, and either you're with us or you're going to pay us for safety, or we're going to kill you. So that's not a religion of peace. And you know what? Maybe somebody can come on here and explain it to me a little bit differently. But from what I've read, from what I've seen, from what I know, this is what I know. And again, I have lots of friends that are Muslim, and they're not violent people, and I love them. Yet I'm not going to go to a Muslim country and try to embrace everyone because I know they're not going to embrace me. And there's a whole political aspect of it in Europe here, things that are happening that are really disrupting, society, and a lot of the takeovers that are happening. They are takeovers, whether, again, not to get into politics of it, but we all know that this is happening. If you don't, by the way, not you guys, but anyone who's listening, if you don't think that that's happening, you need to really kind of open your eyes. As a matter of fact, somebody in the chat that happened to be Muslim said, including my religion, that they preach that. So again, there are differences, and I do think that it should unite us more than divide us. And it's like I said in the beginning, the way I reconcile all religions is there is one God. Wherever you choose to call him is what you choose to call him, because a chair in English is chair, in Portuguese it's a cadeira, in Spanish it's cadena, and in French it's a chaise. It's a different name, but it's still the same thing, right? So that's how I choose to reconcile things. And I do believe that there is one God, and I don't know what his name is. I have my version of it, but do I know that I'm right or wrong? I just know that it's an energy, it's a wisdom, it's something much bigger and higher than all of us, right? And you got to respect and honor that. And the only religion that I don't really respect is atheism, because if you think that there's nothing out there, nothing that created this, then I'm sorry, but you need to think about it. That's like believing that a dictionary came about because of an explosion in a letter factory. No, that shit didn't come together, right? The miracle of life. Everywhere you look, life is a miracle. Look around you. Go outside. Just see the little insects and how everything works synergistically. Look at a beehive. As Sid knows, I'm a beekeeper, and I'm really big on that. And just understanding, looking at a hive and how the hierarchy of it all works, and the magic and of just watching that and seeing nature play out, and everything that comes out of a beehive that can help us as humans and help. It's amazing. So none of this happened by accident. Whatever that engineer, that science, whatever you want to call, in the sky, or wherever in the ether, or whatever you want to believe, I believe that there's certainly a higher power, and none of this happened by accident.
And I want to add something to that before Dr. Vibe come in. And what he said, Tony, you said you don't want to get into politics, but I must ask this panel.
Oh, I go in all the time, by the way. It's not that I don't want to. Sid knows I'm all about it. I just, because of this platform, I wouldn't jump into it personally. But
okay, and I want to ask this platform: is politics and religion, are they really separated?
Not
really.
really.
To be a separate church and state,
Nope.
but is it separate?
And less today than ever before.
So we have to talk politics. Or politics and religion is what's driving this thing. If so, we wouldn't even follow the Pope the way we follow the Pope. But the Pope actually helps make political decisions, even though it's supposed to be separation of church and state. It's not. So we can't just say we can't talk about politics, because it's in the devil's in the detail.
Yeah, and the guy the Pope that's there now is a freaking joke. Of course, he came from Chicago, but he's a joke. He stays silent when Christians and Catholics are being slaughtered in other countries, but then he jumps in and says that America needs to open its borders. Screw you, sir. I said it out loud.
That can be argued both ways. We're murdering and slaughtering here in the Western world. So,
you're right. Again, a lot of atrocities have been committed by every religion on the planet, except maybe Buddhism, but who knows? I don't know enough about it. But atrocities have been committed by the sheiks, by this, by you name it. Atrocities have been committed by it. Well, hopefully, evolving as a society, evolving as humanity, to be able to maybe better understand and have a little bit more respect. But again, unfortunately, the people that don't listen, I'll just say this politically. I'll say it this way: you move to any country, you should assimilate and integrate into that culture, not change that culture to wherever hellstorm you came from, because you left for a reason. So you should assimilate or stay where you are. Bottom line. And I don't agree with this Pope, because he says nothing when Christians are being slaughtered by the thousands in Africa and in different places. And by the way, Christians are not treated well by a lot of the Jews in Israel either. So let's like kind of put that out there. Again, a lot of friends that are Jews, and I have no problem with the religion. I have a problem with the radicals of any religion. The reality of it is, there's people that are not compatible with our societies, with the Western world. And there's been and here's your political statement. There's been a non-military invasion of Europe for the last 15 to 20 years, where Europe fought for thousands of years. The Crusades, by the way, weren't against one religion or another. It was started to stop the slaughter of Christians and Catholics around the world by the Muslim religion. So let's just remember that. And historically, that's the reality. So while Europe fought that invasion off for centuries, now they've not only invited them in, they're paying for them to come in. And we're doing the same thing here in the West, in the United States. May not be a politically appreciated stance and position, but that's history.
Let me put a spin on this too then. Are there any, for the men and those who are watching this right now, men and those who love that are watching, are there any positive aspects for a man to follow a religion?
Yeah, if it's changing their life and elevating it, like, and then also, you know, along those lines, like, again, I go back to, if there's somebody up there telling me what's going on, they better be looking like where I want to go, or I'm out. As soon as they fall off and become human again and fall off the place that most people have put them on this pedestal, as soon as they show up and start doing human indecencies, I'm out. It's really, it ain't, I'm not asking you to, I'm listening because more so, like, even when I talk, I'm talking because I want to hear the thinker of my thoughts. Most people can't handle that actual truth, to look inside and say, these words that I'm putting out, do I want to be them or not? I look at, you know, some of these comments from the guy talking about Auschwitz and the Hebrew stuff and all these things. And did Native Americans, what they did to Native Americans, like, stop. You don't know what they did, probably. Really, most people don't have a clue. Like, okay, most people know about one Trail of Tears. Do you know about the second one? Like, so stop, because you're probably coming from a limited view. Even myself, and I am Egyptian, Native, French, Scottish, and I still don't claim to know it all. I would never walk into my 586 tribes that I serve on the board. I actually don't say a damn word. They sit there and say, Sid, we would like you to speak. I don't say a word because it's 586 tribes that are living on the reservation that I don't know, but I serve on their board. Stop thinking you know anything. As soon as you think you know something, you just cut off the universe. Because none of us know. We know at max. Can you even see it? The tip of the pen? I don't even know if we know that much.
I don't think we do. You've heard me say this before, Sid. The only thing I really know is that I don't know what I don't know. That's all I really know. Because keep in mind that what we know today, or what we think we know, we were taught by a system that was programming, to Coach Hightower's point. So we're told what we're told, and we don't know what's actually true, what's not. We don't know how many people actually died. We don't know what really happened because we're only hearing a one-sided perspective. Hell, you have revisionist history happening in the last 10, 15, 20 years, everybody trying to change everything and the way things are done. Hell, recently, you know, it's been said, and I don't know, I can't justify or approve it, 6 million Jews killed in Auschwitz and in other concentration camps, but it's been said that there were no more at the time, more than 2.8 million Jews in all of Europe. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a lot of information that's floating around and we don't know what's true, what's not. I only know my lived experience and what I believe to be the truth. And then I keep my ears open to listen. And because a sign of intelligence is being able to change your opinion when presented with new evidence. Of course, that evidence may or may not be true. It may or may not come from a good source. And by the way, you can look up whatever you want on the internet. If you're a flat earther, you believe in flat earther, you look it up, you're going to find articles and things that are going to prove that the earth is flat. You're going to go to other places, say the earth isn't flat, you're an idiot. You're going to go to other places that you're going to see the proof that it is, and you can see the curvature of the earth if you're high enough if you're on Everest, or if you're high enough in an airplane, you can actually see the curvature of the earth. So it's not flat, or I don't believe it's flat. But my point is, whatever your opinion is, you can find justification for it on the internet. So don't come to me as an internet researcher and tell me, oh, but I found this. Okay, that's fine. But the reality of it is, we don't really know what is true if we didn't experience it. We weren't here 400 or 500 years ago, 300 years ago. And
well, I can tell you that I have experienced the power of Jesus Christ. Like, I just have. Like, I've experienced it in the water. I'm comfortable saying that. Well, I know it was my imaginary friend at 3, but when I went to talk, it seemed like it was something else. But I actually, at this point in time, like after the baptism, the next day, I went and laid hands on this lady because we were in Bible study, and she had, when they put on that event, 3 people, there are 3 finance people in the main office, all had major car accidents. Like, why, I don't know. But they said every time they ever do anything on that magnitude, a whole group of people in their church get sick, or in this case, it was the accident. And I laid hands on her and said, all right, yeah, Jesus, come on through. Her back was gone like that. Like, it was just over. When I try to do it myself, I'm the one with the back problem. so I'm just okay knowing, all right, something bigger's there, and it's a good thing, So I don't need to get hung up so much on, is it this religion? Is it that religion? Like, I'm really clear on living Buddha, living Christ. Why? Because I've studied Buddha. I actually have his original book written not in Hebrew, in Sanskrit, on animal skins. Like, I've seen it, I've held it, it's right behind my house, and it says in the book, wherever you find this book, you will find the next Buddha. That's the first thing it says. So this guy brought me to the book because he's like, Sid, can you help me with this book? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe all these monks can that gave me this award. So I text, what's his name? Rinpoche, one of the Rinpoches. I texted him and I said, hey, I texted like 30 guys. Only one of them got back to me. And he was the one that was in the middle of the Himalayas walking for 24 days. He had walked 24 days into the Himalayas, no Wi-Fi possible, and says, Sid, how did you get a hold of me? I don't know. What do you mean? Like, I'm thinking, well, you're in Tibet. We're good. I texted you. That's how I got a hold of you. He's like, no, I don't have Wi-Fi. How are you talking to me? And how can I help you? And like, he sent me like 100 pictures to verify that he had been on this walk. And I'm like, all right, I'm trying to get this. Do you know what this book is? He said, yeah, I know exactly what it is. How'd you get that book? That looks like the original book. How'd you get that book? And I'm like, what's behind my house? And he said, oh, let me send you, because everybody in Tibet knows the original book by heart. See, they're different. They don't want a book. They want to become the book. If you take the book from them, they all pass it on and memorize it. The Sutras of Great Liberation. So he translates it. I get it. When I got to the back of the book, I realized, oh, okay. I heard my grandmom say this in passing. Jesus went to study Buddhism. I heard her say that in passing, and I just kind of let it go. But then in the back of the book, Jesus was a Buddha, because his energy got so strong. That's why I say living Buddha, living Christ. He was a Christ consciousness. He became that, which then causes everyone that's ever connected to him to start to wake up. That's what the book is actually doing, because he did that. So myself or anybody else that's like, that's my Lord and Savior, that's because he was meant to awaken those people. And I'm not one to get so caught on, does it need to look like the way men say it? Hell to the no. No, because if it did, then that would be the only way. It's not the only way. Even though he says, I am the way. But when he says, I am the way, most people are not recognizing what that really means. And I'm not even going to say it here on this thing, because when he says, I am the way, if you know the depth of what this is, how to live it, not what to live, how to live it. If you know what that is, you'd be saying it all the time, and you'd become the way.
Yeah.
Like that's
now,
real.
I like that. And I like to add to what both you gentlemen stated, Tony and Sid, in regards to not knowing everything. I had the pleasure of learning from the late great Dr. Sebi's family. And one thing that Dr. Sebi said is you will constantly contradict yourself the more you learn. And the more I start to unravel things and start to learn things, it is a contradiction. For example, you know, people will ask me, is broccoli good to eat? Well, that can be very subjective. It just depends on where you're at in your journey and where you're in your life and how do you view things. But you will constantly contradict yourself. Sid, I want to just acknowledge you, man, for having such humbleness. As you said, you was with more than 500 different nations when it comes to the Indian tribe that has been dropped down to only 12 civilized tribes. But there were hundreds that's not even talked about. Hundreds that had different dialects. They had different way of doing things. But we condensed it to 12 civilized tribes, so this is what we're giving you. No, there's so much out here that we're unaware of. And also remembering a lot of things you're not going to find in the books. A lot of things wasn't meant to be written. So just keep that in mind. Everything you're not going to find on the internet, you're not going to find in the books. And I actually learned this as a medical advisor in Iraq when I was over there in the Middle East. My interpreter had shared with me the way they keep things going in their family. They tell stories, but they also talks about the historical content. And when you have generations like that, it's different. Even in the Egyptian culture, before they even get married, they have to go back 100 years and making sure they're understanding their lineage before they even get the blessings from the elders to marry. So there's a lot of things that takes place with this that we may not be aware of, because in the Western world, we have our own way of doing things. But I love what you gentlemen stated. We don't know everything. There's so much that we don't know.
And it's something you said, you know, and I've heard it this way as well, is the more you learn, the more you realize that there's so much to learn and you can never learn everything, right? And yeah, I honor you, Sid, for serving around that Tribe 500. One of the things that's important to dispel is everybody thinks, all the people that say, oh, I invaded the country, everybody has this idea that all those 500 tribes lived peacefully and it was this utopian society. No, man, it was violence. It was takeovers of areas and fighting over territories and everything else. That's just the way of the world. And again, I just hope that as we evolve as a civilization, that we kind of walk away from that. And that's why that's the biggest threat that we're facing today, is that, you know, the Western world is shaking right now because of a lot of the instability that's coming from people that don't share the same cultures, that don't share the same belief systems and everything else. And again, it's an important thing to pay attention to. And we need to be strong in that, because the enemy right now is strong. You know, just like to say the enemy of good is evil and the evil is strong. Well, we have to be strong, right? In our faith, in our courage, in our conviction, in our patriotism. We need to stand strong and not fold because somebody's feelings got hurt. And that's an important point, because we can't run a nation, we can't run a household, we can't run a business based on emotions alone. And that's what we've been doing. And that's a problem. That's why we need strong leaders, strong men, strong women leading the way, leading the fight. And we need to stand as strong men to be those leaders.
All right, let's wrap it up. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Yeah, I'll make it short and sweet. I just want to say that if religion means anything to being a man, it should show up on how we love, how we listen, how we handle power, and how we treat those with less power than us. I'm complete.
I'm going to close it with this. Coach, you got anything?
Man, I always tell people, continue to strive to be the best version of yourself. And that's actually understanding who you are, where you come from, and actually understanding what we are.
If I can jump in for 10 more seconds, I think I want to add based on what was shared in the last few moments. One of my mottos is, the more I know, the more I need to know.
Yeah, I'll go back to this. Why am I studying all these Bibles? Well, one, Thomas Jefferson did it. When he was in the Oval Office, Thomas Jefferson had every deity of every god ever in the Oval Office. And he laid out all of the scripts, all of the old ancient texts. He laid them out. He was a theologian, and he studied them. Let me see. Yep, I have it right here. When I went and toured his house, Liz and I bought his original works. They took his papers and put them in his Bible. I honored that person the way he was being, and it's interesting that there was a book that Krishna Das told me to go find. It was Thomas Jefferson's book. This is way back. They had taken his when he first put it together. They took all of his things, put it in a book. He gave it to his family. His family had it. If you go to Thomas Jefferson's place in Charleston, Virginia, or Chesterton, Virginia, whatever it is, you go to his place, they still operate. They have somebody that wears a costume and dresses up like Thomas Jefferson, and that guy is hired for the rest of his life to do that. And then when he's gone, they will find another one. So they operate in the same way. It's a wild experience. He talks just like the guy's talking about his wife, the whole thing. But what's amazing about it is he went through and he said, okay, what are the dates? Where do they all line up? Where are the dates? Where are they happening? And then he went back and he said, okay, there was someone. You can go look at in the American Indian culture, there is what's called the peacemaker. Well, guess what? If you go look up the peacemaker, you can go do it yourself. When you go look up the peacemaker, you will find the story of Christ. Born to a virgin. You can go do the same thing with Osiris, who gives birth to Horus, who's not Isis, excuse me. Isis gives birth to Horus, and Osiris was chopped into pieces. So she couldn't even have sex with her husband because he was killed by whatever, Osiris's brother. All these names are escaping me. But all these things, it all goes back to, and he said in this, there was one person. Y'all might talk it different, but there was one person. There was one person that was born the same, experienced the same, and it all happened like that. Different people, different views, different places, telling the same story. I don't care if you're Jewish. They still acknowledge Jesus was there. I don't care what your religion is. They still acknowledge him. I don't care what you want to call him. You can call him Yeshua. You can call him Jesus. You can call him Christ. There still was. And then you can go further. There still was God. I don't care if you want to call God the Big Bang. Whatever you want to call it. There was still the beginning of all of this stuff. So if you think that you're sitting there with the answers, you don't have them. I don't have them. I keep going so I can get closer to it, so I can know it better, that it can become my life. I put God first because this other stuff ain't it. These people, 1% running 99% of the world, running all the other 99%, putting them in harm's way, empty houses when we got homeless, all of that ain't God. God gave us all the ability to have a house. God gave us all the ability to eat food without I should be able to go back to this lake and eat every day I want to. Just go throw a pole in there and catch a fish and be done with it. End of story. God has supplied us all of this stuff. And if your religion is getting in the way of everybody else having and living in abundance, damn on your religion. That's what I got. So thank you all for tuning in. I love this conversation. Thank you, fellas. We'll see everybody in a minute. Peace.
Great discussion, gentlemen.
I've been at peace for so long. It seems like I've been sitting all alone. Would you know when the crew is coming through? They're the ones that will make anew. Gotta go, gotta flow, gotta choose the truth. We the ones that will raise the roof. Let's roll up and throw down. Let's go and feel the sound. Good vibes, one try. Can you feel me now? Be you, be me, be free. Go and take it till we bounce the beat. Take it to the streets, make a move the feet. I can slow it down, look in my eyes now. Just like you two want it fast. Spread them wings and make it last. God was the one to erase the past. Time to bring it forward to see the forecast. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. That was God's broadcast. That was God's broadcast. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace.